Hello and welcome to another brand new edition of Colors of India, your weekly cultural diary on Rajya Sabha TV. I am Teena Jha with all the cultural updates in the city in the week gone by. As always, let's begin with the highlights of all that we've got for you in today's episode. First up this week, glimpses from the Delhi International Arts Festival. Next, a tribal poetry session. And finally, an exhibition of artworks by disabled artists. The Delhi International Arts Festival returned with its 12th edition this year, bringing together artists from India and abroad. We bring you performances by Sumit Anand Pandey and Sudha Raghuraman. While Sumit is a young exponent of Drupad, the oldest genre of Hindustani classical music still in practice, Sudha Raghuraman is a well-known Carnatic vocalist. The duo, with their mesmerizing recitals, transported listeners to an ethereal state. Sumit Anand Pandey, a Drupad vocalist of Darbhanga Gharana and Carnatic vocalist Sudha Raghuraman from Delhi, came together for a musical evening at Connaught Place's Central Park in Delhi. The program was part of the 12th edition of the Delhi International Arts Festival held recently in the national capital. The theme of the event was woman, tradition, continuity and modernity. Highlighting the multiple roles that women play in their daily lives. Artists represented the theme in their performances. The 10-day cultural extravaganza saw the congregation of artists from different corners of India and the world. The multi-venue festival that provides a global platform to young artists, musicians and connoisseurs of culture was first conceptualized by festival founder and director Pratibha Prahlad more than a decade ago. Sumit Anand Pandey began with a composition in Rag Rageshwari in Dhamar Tal. He was accompanied by Devashish Pathak on Bakhavaj, Lalit Sisodia on Sarangi and Shruti Sargam on Tanpura. Sumit trained under his grandfather, Pandit Virendra Mohan Pandey and Pandit Siyaram Tiwari. For the last decade or so, the young vocalist is under the tutelage of Guru Pandit Abhay Narayan Malik.
ध्रुपद धमार की पारंपरिक प्रस्तुति करेंगे, जिसमें कि धमार ताल में निबद्ध मैं एक रचना सुनाऊंगा। राग रागेश्वरी में है ये इवनिंग मेलोडी है, शाम का राग है और इसके पद हैं कुंज बिहारी राधा प्यारी। तो ये जो पद है ये भी राधा रानी को और बांके बिहारी को समर्पित है। कुंज बिहारी राधा प्यारी।
For Sumit, Drupad is more about devotion and spirituality than musical virtuosity and prowess. The Darbhanga Gharana is one of the 4 Drupad Gharanas in India and one among the 2 Drupad Gharanas present in Bihar. It was started by Pandit Radha Krishna and Pandit Kartaram, who learned Drupad from Bhupat Khan, the grandson of Tansen. This Gharana masters the Khandar Vani and the Gauhar Vani, which is closely related to the family of Tansen. The subtlety of pure and powerful rendition beautifully cast its spell and transported listeners to an ethereal state.
Jai Jai Devi, Jai Jaga Janani, Jai Jai Devi.
On the other hand, Carnatic vocalist Sudha Raghuraman left the music lovers spellbound with her melodious compositions.
Jai Jaga Janani, Jai Jai Devi, Jai Jaga Janani, Jai Jai Saraswati Bai, Jai Jai Saraswati Bai, Jai Jai Devi, Jaga.
Born in a family of distinguished musicians, she got her training in Carnatic music from her grandfather, Sangeet Bhushanam O.V. Subramaniam, the highly acclaimed doyen of the Tanjavur Bani.
I will be portraying the empowerment of women in terms of Shakti, in terms of Bhagavati, as I already talked about. I'm a woman musician, and the struggles and the difficulties that I have undergone, how I have made it to this level also, it's been a journey. And I had all the support from my family, my husband and everybody. Still, it is a very difficult field. As a mother, as a daughter-in-law, as a daughter, as a wife, to play several roles and then also to be a professional, I think it is a very challenging job.
Sudha's unique forte lies in her effortless delineation of rare, complicated rags. Be it in the leisurely exposition of a rag and niraval, or the quickness of the vibrant swar pratharas. Sudha's music is a symbol of her deep sensitivity to Sahitya. The piece highlighted the different manifestation of goddesses such as Parvati, Saraswati and Bhagavati. High on spirituality, all her compositions invoked an ecstasy among listeners through lyrics and phrases on Rag Bhairavi and Sindhuvati. Sumit hails from the Darbhanga Gharana, which has an illustrious history and brilliant lineage, tracing back to the Senia Parampara of the legendary Tansen. Similarly, Sudha Raghuraman was also born and brought up in a family of illustrious musicians. A recipient of the Ustad Bismillah Khan Award for Dance and Music, her name is an accomplished one in the classical music industry. We hope you liked their performances. With that, time for a short break on the program. Lots more lined up for you on the other side. Do stay with us. On the other side, the tribal poets meet at the Delhi International Arts Festival. Welcome back once again. We now take you to a session of multilingual readings by tribal poets. The Delhi International Arts Festival hosted a tribal poets meet where they recited poems discussing nature and their way of life. Listen in. Four tribal poets from different parts of India got together at the Sahitya Academy in Delhi to inform and educate people about the rich tribal literature of the country.
Is it Oito Murkaban? Is it Oito Murkaban? That's right. This moment, the missing numbers passed away in its space.
Organized as part of the 12th edition of the Delhi International Arts Festival, the hour-long tribal poetry session witnessed multilingual readings by Detsung Swargyari, Jitin Payeng, Nandlal Singh and Madan Mohan Soren. All poets also presented Hindi and English translations of their original works. Indian poetry is one of the greatest poetic traditions in the world. Its roots go back to the oral tribal poems of ancient times. Tribal communities in India have their own literature and poetry which represent their communal activity like singing, dancing and religious celebration on social occasions. Most of the verses recited discuss nature and the simple ways of Adivasi life. Poet Jitin Payeng read his poems in missing language. One of his poems narrated how the construction work in Assam turned rivers there into deserts. Jitin says his poem depicts dying of rivers in the state and the suffering of those living on the banks due to construction of huge dams.
A riverine whistle creeps into the heart. Is it Oinito Murkaban? Is it Oinito Murkaban? Just right this moment, the missing members passed away in ecstasy.
Actually, the missing peoples, they live in the village areas, mainly in the river sides. Riverine peoples, they live in riverine areas. So, what comes out in these poems are actually these poems are the feelings of some people who lives in the riverine river bank areas. Okay, so in maximum poems, what I have composed, those will be reflection of those villages, those areas of river bank, and the feelings of those peoples.
Horde of jackals prey at midnight.
The hour-long multilingual reading session thrilled listeners as tribal poets read out their poems.
Preying on the dead cow, your laughter is his cry. His cry is your laughter. The dust of Phagun dances with the current of breeze.
Poet Detsung Swargyari sung his compositions in Bodo
The
language.
sleepy vulture resonates with pensive and rhythmic tone.
The Bodos are one of the most prominent tribal communities in the northeastern region. The Bodo tribe of Assam are known to be the earliest settlers of the state and the first to cultivate rice and rear silkworms in Assam.
Like the disgraced soul walking through darkness, the winged
They are
insect
recognized as a
craft
plain stripe in the
of
6th
yours
schedule
and
of the Indian
mine
Constitution.
floats along towards the gravier.
Swargyari's poems were about Bihu, the popular festival of Assam.
बिहू फेस्टिवल के बारे में लिखा है तो पहले जैसे ट्रेडिशनली आए थे तो अभी क्या हुआ मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर बिकमिंग बिजी सो इसलिए थोड़ा सा चेंज हो गया जब टाइम आते हैं ना तभी मैंने आदमी लोगों के मन में वो सडनली वो आ जाते हैं.
Besides this, poet Nandlal Singh delivered his poems in Mundari. His poetry celebrates the two folk dance forms of Mundari tribals, Karma and Jatur. Some of his poems also describe the scenic beauty of nature.
बचपन से मैं तो ऐसे जो गाना ऐसे गाँव गहली में गाना गाते थे जब मेरा होश संभला और मैं जो पढ़ी लिखी हो गया जो भाषा को जाति को बचाने के लिए संस्कृति जरूरी है साहित्य सृष्टि करना जरूरी है ये विचार करके मैं अभी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का प्रेसिडेंट, मुंडारी समाज का सब प्रेसिडेंट हूँ। मेरे साहित्य बचेगा तो एक भाषा बचेगा, भाषा बचेगा एक जाति, एक संप्रदाय बचेगा। इसीलिए जो भाषा छूट जाएगा, साहित्य नहीं बनेगा तो ये जाति अपने आप से डूब जाएगा। इसीलिए जाति को बचाने के लिए, भाषा को बचाने के लिए साहित्य सृष्टि करना जरूरी है।
The interactive session was a mirror to the society, with poets focusing on issues of tribal community and their simple lifestyle. Urging the next generation to keep up with the age-old tradition of tribal culture by developing their interest in the language. Indeed, the session proved to be a means to educate people about the rich literature of our tribal communities. We hope you liked their verses and poems. On that note, time for another quick break. Still more coming up on the show. Don't go anywhere. On the other side, artworks by the disabled. Welcome back once again. We now take you to an exhibition that is special and unique. Titled Beyond Limits, it curates works of those artists who are differently able. The 18th edition of the exhibition showcased 75 exclusive artworks by artists with disabilities from different parts of India. Family of Disabled, an organization engaged in the service of people with disabilities, organized a 10-day art exhibition for disabled persons with an aptitude for art. On display were 75 artworks made by 42 artists with disabilities from different parts of the country. The exhibition was the 14th edition of the series Beyond Limits 2018, which was started way back in 2001. In the beginning, the art show was organized every alternate year, but since 2009, it has become an annual series.
As the name suggests, Beyond Limits, the idea is to see beyond the limitations of the artists or people with disabilities for that matter, and look at their abilities, celebrate their creativity, celebrate their talent. There are artists living in remote villages. There was once this artist who had specially come to the gallery and said, मैं पहली बारी gallery देख रहा हूँ. I have never seen Delhi, leave alone a gallery. And there are such artists who are living in oblivion, and this is their opportunity to express themselves to the world.
Every artist picked their own theme and portrayed it in their works. Artist Arvind Budh Singh beautifully depicted the different stages of life and the multiple roles of women in the society in his painting, Dhara. The 55-year-old is afflicted with polio, but this never stopped him from achieving his artistic goals. The self-taught artist has mastered various mediums like oil painting, acrylic painting, and watercolors.
शुरू से शौक़ था मुझे ड्राइंग करने का। ड्राइंग मेरी अच्छी थी, ड्राइंग में सबसे ज़्यादा नंबर आते थे। फिर जब मैं जौहर साहब से मिला तो उन्होंने मेरे बारे में पूछा और मेरे काम के बारे में पूछा, तो मैंने उनसे ऐसे ही बोल दिया कि मैं थोड़ा बहुत पेंट वगैरह भी कर लेता हूँ। तो मैं वैसे पहले आर्टिस्ट नहीं था, आर्टिस्ट मुझे जौहर साहब ने ही बनाया, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा ठीक है हमारा कार्ड छपते हैं, आप उसके लिए डिज़ाइन करें। तो पहली बार मैंने 10 कार्ड बना के दिए थे, लेकिन उसमें से कोई भी सिलेक्ट नहीं हुआ। फिर मुझे थोड़ा सा वो लगा, फिर उन्होंने कहा नहीं तुम दोबारा बनाओ दूसरे साल के लिए, और मैंने दोबारा बनाया और उसमें से 2 कार्ड सिलेक्ट हुए और वो दोबारा भी छपे। तो इससे मुझे एक बहुत बड़ा हौसला मिला कि ये काम भी मेरा जीवन में साथ दे सकता है।
Another artist, Ankur Singla, showcased his encounters with several people who tried to fool him in his work. It was titled, "He Fooled Me." The painting shows the artist's anger and disliking towards hypocrites, where the horns and lemons symbolize betrayal. Ladder symbolizes procrastination by the hypocrite. Birds show the act of fooling. Ankur was only 5 years old when he lost his ability to hear. His habit of scribbling on the newspapers and editing pictures through various editing tools inclined him towards painting. He says painting is the only medium where he can express himself without any fear.
I drew this painting when I was shifting my home. There I met a person who showed his interest in my painting. But when I desired to give him my painting, after completing it, he avoided me. So through this work, I showed how I was being fooled. And other things that I painted in it, like ladder and elephant, show procrastination by the hypocrites.
All the works on display were carefully selected by a jury of eminent artists. The art show was an acknowledgement of the artist's passion and dedication towards their art. The exhibition aimed to create awareness and encourage artists with disabilities to look beyond their visible or imagined limitations and also focus on their inner strengths. The idea was to help the artists reach out to people with their imagination and creativity. At the same time, providing them financial support and helping them earn public recognition and appreciation. And time now for our weekly cultural calendar, where we tell you all about the upcoming cultural events in your city. The 16th Chennai International Film Festival will be held at Devi Cineplex, Mount Road, 9:30 p.m. on 13th of December. In Hyderabad, an event called Ruhaniyat will be held at Taramati Hotel, Ibrahim Bagh, 6:15 p.m. on 16th December. In Mumbai, a play Giant will be staged at the Royal Opera House, 7 p.m. on 14th December. In Delhi, an art exhibition, Meandering Journeys, will be held at Sri Dharani Art Gallery, Triveni Kala Sangam, Mandi House, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. between 14 December to 23rd December. And in Pune, an event, Retro to Metro with Violin Breathless, will be held at the Ganesh Kala Krida Rangmanch, Keshav Rao Road, 7 p.m. on 14 December. You can also send us details of upcoming events in your city. You can write to us on sabrang.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our episodes online on YouTube and Twitter and leave behind your valuable feedback and suggestions. We'll be back same time next week with more on the cultural front. Until then, take good care of yourself. It's a goodbye from the entire Colours of India team.